Absolute tops. It's a very busy and very hot pit lane here at the Hungaroring as we prepare for round 8 of the FIA World Touring Car Championship, and drivers going to get themselves ready now. They've got around 20 minutes before the car must be out of the pit lane and on the grid. In fact, less than that. We're almost at the start of our repair time. 30 seconds or so will go by. Track temperature around 50 degrees, air temperature just around... Do you know, that's in the shade somewhere in an air-conditioned truck. It is hotter than 30 degrees. I'm pretty sure that the track... Yeah. I mean, it's 53 degrees in qualifying yesterday afternoon at 3 o'clock. It's now 1 o'clock local time. I reckon it's got to be close to that.
Yeah, it certainly feels it. Certainly feels sweltering hot. You can see Norbert walking down the pit lane there and getting all the adulation from the fans in the opposite grandstand.
And I'm sure that first race, you know, he didn't feel he got the best out of the car in qualifying. He did get the best out of the car in the race. He could barely have done any more against the Chevrolet of Alain Menu. He had a good run into the first corner, got himself, I mean, fought well to get himself in the second place and hold on to that second place, because the first few corners were by no means easy, and then really attacked, really attacked. So he must be feeling very much more relaxed. Great. I'm sure there's a huge weight of pressure that's gone. Now he's got to have a quick leak, top up with fluids, try not to drop the trophy. And then, you know, you can't even strip off the wet race suit and get a dry one on like you do between stints at Le Mans. You're soaking wet, you go straight back into the car, and he's getting ready to go again. Well, let's get down into the pit lane. In the battle for third place all the way through was Gabriele Tarquini.
Well, Gabriele, you were defending throughout that. Really hard work right on that last lap. If you take a look at the screen, we can look at it and you can talk us through it.
Yeah, this was good. I mean, this touch is normal. He was inside and he overtook me clean. But later on, he don't make a good maneuver. He was very dusty with me because, no, he's not here. He's on the corner number 4. He went completely out of the circuit and he rejoined me, and he cost me two other positions because he pushed me off. Look at this. He was completely out. He rejoined the track and he pushed me off. This must be penalized. I mean, this is not a normal line. This is normally the rules say when you are out of the track, you must wait until the last car. So you don't wait until the last car. It was a clean maneuver. There is out of the black stuff. He rejoined and he pushed me out. No, this is, I don't know how the race director can consider this a race incident. I don't know.
Well, I'm sure yourself and Joan Oris will have something to say later to the stewards.
Okay.
Well, he does have a valid point that Javier was 4 wheels off the racing area. However, it is the last lap. It's a battle for a podium, and you know, at some stage, and he said, you know, exactly as we thought. You know, down into the first corner, he tried to keep the door closed. He braked with everything he could, Tarquini, but the BMW was just creeping alongside, and it was a good, clean racing manoeuvre. It just got a little feisty after that.
Yeah, they all got a little bit excitable, I think. I didn't realise that Gabriele actually got pushed off on the outside of the turn 4 corner, and he does have a point. Villa went completely off the circuit, yeah, and then rejoined and hit the car which was on the circuit, which probably will be frowned upon.
Well, we're looking here into turn 4 as the cars come up. You come up the hill, and where the curb is right in front of you there, that's the brow of the hill, and over the middle of the corner you sort of drift out wide, and it's very easy to get sucked out onto the AstroTurf and then out into the runoff area. So, I mean, you know, the road drops away on the outside of that corner, so very easy for that to happen.
Yeah, it's a totally blind corner as well, so...
It is. It's vital, but he did come back on, and contact with Tarquini pushed Tarquini off in corner 5. Touring cars, now it's really on the map. Massive crowds in the grandstands here at the Hungaroring, as the pit lane is a real centre of activity. Let's get down and hear from Javi Villa about his last lap incident.
Javi Villa, we have just heard from a very emotional Gabriele Tarquini saying that the second overtake was not correct. If you take a look at these pictures, you can talk us through, tell us from your point of view.
Yeah, well, the race was very close, no? In the last part, I think that in all the moment I have the car full inside. I had opportunities during the race that's overtaking, but maybe touching the two guys, and I try have all the car inside for don't touching, don't crash, and I think that was very close because the last lap through overtaking, but I see very good. Tarquini running much more slower than us. He was blocking to me in middle of all the apex, was close, but I don't want crash. For me it's very important finish the race, and here I was locking a little bit. Was my intention, if not locking, and then finish third. Podium is very important, and a very good race. I think all the team needed.
You can see from the pictures that you are completely off the track. Were you pushed at that point?
I have the place to come in inside. No, I go not, but I lose in time because when I go outside the track, obviously he is quick, and when I come in, I have the space in the track. I don't think so. That is nothing strange. It's normal in all the races, and enough. No, it's a touring car, and I think that finish the four drivers is important.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, one incident, two different views, as you expect from two drivers involved. Tarquini's absolutely right that Javi Villa was four wheels off the racing surface. Villa's absolutely right is that actually it didn't gain him anything. And when he came back on, the reason he locked up and the reason he ran wide out into Gabriele, of course, was because he's been out on that dirt and filth, and the tyres are operating at about 50% of the grip level that he would have had if he'd managed to keep it on track. And of course, the reason he ran out wide was because he was squeezing down the inside of Gabriele, who was trying not to let him, and so he went in very shallow into the corner, and so came out carrying speed, on a wider exit line, and so there was no way he was going to safely get all or completely get all the way through on the track.
And obviously his view is that Gabriele didn't leave him room to come back onto the track, which is why he had the contact, but they'll argue that in the stewards' office.
Well, here is our local hero, and with her is Norbert Mikulis.
Norbert, we heard that you had mechanical problems at the start of the first race. What's the problem now?
I don't know, something with the car. They cannot get it to the ground. So I don't know actually what exactly the problem is, but it's not looking good.
Okay, thank you.
Now, in Formula 1 we use when the cars come in, they get a mechanical jack under, the guy leans back, lifts it up in the air, and that's how you jack your own car up. You stick a jack under it, wind it up. With the touring cars here, there's a compressed air system. At each of the four corners behind the wheels, there's a hydraulic ram, and you plug in an air line, it blows air in, lifts the car off the ground. They have now got it back on the ground, so for some reason the air was not releasing and dropping the car. Now, Norbert Mikulis is ready to go. Up once more. You can see cars coming down through pit road. In front of our commentary position, the grandstand seats are fast filling up again. Just the sound of the engines firing, everybody's going quickly, give me my pretzel, give me my beer. Let's get back into the grandstands as they retake their seats for race 2. And down on the grid, I think a very happy man here is Thomas Frank, our local promoter here in Hungary.
Joined by Thomas Frank, the circuit promoter, and Eric. Can you please give me your title?
I'm chief the tourism and sport committee in Parliament, Hungarian Parliament.
Thank you for joining us. This is a fantastic day, is it not?
Yeah, it's a fantastic day. Very good. So many people here, and Norbert Mikulis, the Hungarian driver, is the second, and that's very nice.
Thomas, we've heard that there's a 45-kilometer motorway backlog, people trying to get in, people are still trying to get into the track.
Yes, we are very happy with this coulis, what we have in Hungary. We have in this weekend 75,000 people, that is very nice, and Michalis is a very good driver. I hope so. It's coming the second race. Everything is nice.
It's probably pretty obvious, but what does it mean to have WTCC here?
Marcelot is a good friend for me. And we are happy he brings this race to Hungary, and we hope so the race stay here a long time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Well, based on a straw poll of all the fans, I think we could probably agree with that. I think they'd all be very happy to see it back again. As we talked about earlier, having this guy, Norbert Michelis, in the car, a Hungarian driver, has suddenly exposed the whole country to what the World Touring Car Championship is. It's put it right on the map. They had the Hungarian Formula 1 driver briefly with Zolt Baumgartner, but of course, having had the Grand Prix here for, well, I mean, if you look out, most of the fans here, it's been here for half their lives, a Formula 1 race. So they've become, you know, very accustomed to it. They know when it's coming. They know what it's all about. World Touring Car Championship may not have been on the radar, but boy, it is now. And, you know, the scenes of the crowds here and trying to get in are really quite incredible. Part of it is having a local hero. Part of it is how close it is to the capital city, which is, you know, no small problem. But of course, the other thing is having free admission for the fans means that it is a really, you know, great opportunity to come out and see something at this track. And I think for the Hungaroring, you know, the opportunity to host the race when it became clear that Marrakesh couldn't was a golden opportunity, and they've, you know, they've really done a great job. And for the championship to be racing at a circuit like this that's offered some great racing and has got an enormous crowd watching it, you know, you want to perform as an athlete in front of a big crowd, and boy, they're doing that this weekend.
And it's such a, it's hard to explain, but it's such a great feeling, and the atmosphere in general, it really does feel like I've never felt this at a motorsport race before. There's the whole crowd's just so into the whole thing that they're on their feet constantly, they're jumping around and singing and dancing, and it adds to the whole like fanfare, if you like, of the event.
It really does. It just makes a special atmosphere. Now then, to matters racing. Mehdi Benani, the Moroccan driver, will be on pole position with his BMW for race 2, ahead of Alain Mignoux, who starts on the outside of the front row of the grid, ahead of Christian Poulsen, Tom Coronel, Thiago Monteiro, and that man, Norbert Michelis again. The Hungarian will once more be cheered to the rafters with every single move. 9th place and 10th for Robert Dahlgren and Javi Villa, and in 12th position, as he was for race 1, Rob Huff. Further back, the positions exactly the same as they were on the race 1 grid. Incidentally, Hus Sonderegger, who had a high-speed accident in practice down at corner 1. The car was fixed and he was passed safe to race by the drivers, but actually didn't feel that he would be within himself able to give enough in the car. So rather reluctantly, I think he and Vika Sport have withdrawn that entry. Rob Huff missed the boat slightly in the final lap of Q1, which demoted him not only out of Q2, out of the top 10, but also into 12th place for both races, because Q1 from 11th on down seals the grid for both races. And so Huffy made it up in the end into 4th position, didn't he, in race 1? Yeah. So an 8th place improvement. And well, Daryl O'Young here in the Bamboo Engineering Chevrolet was doing similarly, following up through the field. Unfortunately, drive-through penalty for jumping across the inside of corner 4 on one of the laps really cost him an opportunity to fight inside the top points-paying positions. However, all he's got to do is go out and do it all again now.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's the same for Rob and for Daryl. They've both, in the previous race, they made up positions. They're both in quicker cars than where they've qualified, which is that's the problem with this new qualifying system. It's not that if you don't make it in the top 10, it really punishes you, because you've got it in both races, and it can ruin your weekend.
One of our promoters from Eurosport events, Joël Dorger, and there with Alain Mignoux, and there's Javi Villa.
I wonder if Gabriele Tarquini's been up and had a word with him and shaken him by the collar.
Well, no, I don't think so. I mean, it wasn't a wild punt or anything. It was, a racing manoeuvre. Gabriele saying, OK, well, he should be penalised for being off the track and then coming back on. And, maybe he's got a certain degree of justification in that. And I'm sure the stewards will look at it afterwards. But as has always been the case, decisions on race 1 are not made before race 2. They are given due time for a decision, appeal, counter-appeal, and so on. So often you can't do that between the two races. Robert Dahlgren, well, again, knocked off in race 1, car damage, they fixed it, but the bonus of this is that it doesn't detrimentally affect his grid position for race 2. That's already locked in, so even if you get knocked off on the first corner and finish last, Race 2, you get a second go at it. So there are some factors of this that I like. Some, I'm afraid, where we spend most of 20 minutes of qualifying just trying to explain what's going on, that I'm not entirely convinced about. But it does have the advantage that it doesn't... an accident that's not of your own making doesn't necessarily wipe out the entire weekend, and that's part of it I think that drivers possibly do like, but they don't necessarily always see.
Yeah, that is a big bonus, because it does happen. Even accidentally someone can take you off and they've done nothing. You'd be a total instant party, and it's not fair really. But
so Van Muller will start in 8th place. Again, this is what the first period of qualifying is about. Trying to get into the top 10 guarantees you'll be in the top 10 for both races. But the way they finish in Q1, the first 20-minute period, the fastest driver doesn't start on pole, he starts 10th, and the 10th fastest driver starts on pole position. So the top 10 are reversed for race 1, 11 to 12, 11 on down remain as they are for both races, and then you go through and shoot for the fastest lap in the second period of qualifying to try and get the race 1 pole. But that's the juggling act, trying to get 8th, 9th, 10th, somewhere like that, to be on the race 2 front row, that everybody is now trying to do, and that's why Rob Huff, Darrell O'Young just got caught out on their last laps. They were in and out of the top 10, both of them, quite regularly during that session. As they put in a lap, somebody else would put in a lap, and in the end, they ended up outside. Now, it's apart from the fact that the smell of cooking now that's coming in through the open back door is almost overwhelming, it has become quite noticeably darker overhead here. It was really bright sunshine earlier. Clouds are building, as they tend to in hot Central European climates when the humidity rate is high. I don't think it's going to rain, but it feels very different in terms of air temperature and humidity to compare to how it was before. It's almost, well, I wouldn't say cool in our commentary booth, but far less of a sauna than it was before.
Yeah, certainly in the last 10 minutes or so it's totally changed, and this week while I've been here there's been some absolutely massive thunderstorms, so it wouldn't surprise me that this is the feeling that we got beforehand.
Tiago Monteiro on the grid there, and like all the drivers, doing his very best to stay as cool as possible. You can see that when we saw Darrell O'Young, he had his helmet off in the car but still bathed in sweat. Actually, we were talking to Rob Huff a couple of days ago on Friday afternoon after the practice session. We were saying, oh, we're so hot, and he said, oh, I'm freezing. Yeah, no, right, no, really, I am freezing. The Chevrolet boys have got this new OMP racewear that's got some material impregnated into it. Smells minty, sort of a wintergreen sort of smell, that when the driver sweats, when the body gets hot, it has a cooling effect on the skin. And we were talking about this last night, weren't we? If that's a couple of €100 for a vest, actually, a day like today, yeah, you're here, take my money, no problem at all. Anything that helps you feel cooler in the car, allows you to concentrate better, is worth its weight in gold.
At the end of the day, the car can be as good as the best thing on the grid, but the driver's the person who puts it, makes the lap times and makes the result. So if you can spend, say, €200 on something which increases the driver's potential, then it is money well spent.
Absolutely. Well, we saw BMW driver Tom Coronel, who starts 4th. BMW driver Christian Poulsen starts in 3rd place. And we have a BMW driver on pole position as well.
I think we'll have an exciting first couple of corners here.
Right.
Mehdi Benani's probably the big winner of the new qualifying system.
He was, wasn't he? I'll tell you what, the wind is picking up. There's actually a breeze coming in through the back door, which feels nice, but it does feel that there's rain in the air. Christian Poulsen then starts on the outside, the inside of row 2 of the grid, behind the pole sitter, who sits on the right of your screen. Well, starting front row, right-hand side, as he did for race 1 when that was pole for the rolling start, is this man, the race 1 winner, Alain Menu. We talked about it last time out in Monza. For only the 3rd time in World Touring Car history, a man won both races in the weekend. Andy Priaulx did it once, Jürg Muller did it once, James Thompson did it once, and then in Monza, Rob Huff did it. So I did suggest yesterday it's possible, with Menu on the front row for both races, that we might get 2 in consecutive weekends. And Menu is very well placed. If he can get in front of the BMWs, as we saw in race 1, he might stay in front of the BMWs, and a double race winning weekend for Alain Menu would really ignite his championship.
And he'll know that as well, knowing that he needs to get ahead, especially after seeing it firsthand in the last race. He has to be ahead of the BMWs at the start of this race, because the BMs are going to come back at him later.
The problem is, in the top 6 are 4 BMWs, and Aluminium will not get off the grid, all other things being equal, as quick as the BMWs do. Norbert Michelis is ready to go, and that means the crowd are ready to go as well. What an atmosphere. Cars on the grid on their own, which means we're within a couple of minutes of getting this race underway. Round 8 of the FIA World Touring Car Championship here at the Hungaroring. Harry Volkar's just come back in from the windy back of our commentary booth. Harry, what's the sky saying?
I've just seen a huge flash of lightning and there's a massive black cloud overhead, so I think we're about to see a lot of water come out of the sky.
Well, 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 it is absolutely scorching, or it was 10 minutes ago. 30 plus degrees, almost 50 degrees of track temperature, leaden skies overhead partially. A storm is on its way, and that might just add an enormous extra question mark into what happens here. There were spots of rain in the pit lane. It's not raining heavily as the cars get away. The track will still be very hot. The slick tyres will still work well for a few spots of rain, even a tiny bit of light drizzle. It's a big aggregate in this track, lots of big stones in the mix, and that means it's quite a rough surface, not a smooth polished surface like you might find, for instance, in Mexico or Brazil. There are real hot surfaces where there's a lot of shine on the top of it, so it might give a little more grip. But if there is a deluge, if there is a thunderstorm, then we will, or may likely, see the race stop for safety reasons. It has not been declared a wet race, so the race organisers may well have to stop the race with all the cars on slicks. As soon as they start skating off, then our race organiser, our race director, Mirek Bartok, is going to have an awful big decision on his hands, but it may not come to that. Who knows? There's Giancarlo Bruni, race engineer for Gabriele Tarquini. Gabriele starting in 7th position as Mehdi Benani leads the field round.
The umbrellas seem to have disappeared, so that kind of suggested it stopped drizzling if it was before. And it's quite windy, so I wouldn't be surprised if it does start raining, it could just blow over.
It might well just blow over. Well, there is Gabriele Tarquini, friend of his and the team's. Died last week, and hence the black armband on Giancarlo Bruni's shirt. Gabriele almost did enough to hang on to 3rd place in race 1 against all the odds. He was getting on for 3 seconds a lap slower than the cars in front of him, but he held on. We are getting ready to get this race underway here in Hungary. The papers are blowing all over the desk here, but the breeze is so nice coming in the back door, don't really want to close it. As we watch Norbert Michelis, we haven't had any views from the onboard cameras through the screens yet of a lot of rain on the windscreen, which suggests to me that either directors outside having lunch, which I know not to be the case, or there isn't any major water yet in the air. Certainly no sign of spray, no sign of water on the track. Board with Thiago Monteiro, just wiping the sweat from his brow, so it's clearly just as much of a furnace in the cars as it was 5 minutes ago. And the team of Norbert Michelis, well, they had a little drama. The car wouldn't come down off its air jacks as they were getting ready to send him out from the pit lane. Eventually it did so he is on the track, and the crowd as a man are rising to their feet as he comes to the grid. Every movement that the Hungarian driver has made this weekend has been greeted with enormous interest and approval. Onboard shot there from the man on the 2nd row of the grid, Christian Poulsen. This is behind him with Thiago Monteiro, lines up 5th. Mehdi Benani has stopped outside of his grid position. He's too far forward, the pole man.
He's reversing.
And there's a marshal going, go back, go back. He has no idea where his grid spot is. And now he's back in his grid position. There he is on the right-hand side of your picture, but he was half a car forward, and that would have been an exclusion if he'd done that. I don't think you need to whip this crowd up. The commentator's been doing a great job. We are ready to go racing here. Round 8 of the FIA World Touring Car Championship. Red lights are on, and away we go. Good start from the BMWs. Loads of tyre smoke from Aluminium as the turbo chipped in. You could really see it there. And here down the inside comes Coronel. He's looking for the lead. little further back, Darrell Young didn't make a great start either. It's Christian Poulsen that leads from Tom Coronel, and Norbert Michaelis going for glory down the inside, but he's got a puncture and damage on the front of the car, and he is off. He had contact with somebody else, and I think that may have affected the braking of the car. Big damage for him. He ran into the back of Javi Villa as well. Tom Coronel's got damage, and it is all over. The dream for Norbert Michaelis of winning here in Hungary is over. That's Javi Villa. He clipped as well. Tom Coronel he clipped going by, and he was on the inside there, Harry, going down into the first corner. Before he got alongside the first of the BMWs, he was unable to stop. He was out of control.
Yeah, I think he had contact and it pushed him onto the grass, and obviously he's a passenger from that point on, and I think he actually ended up taking Poulsen with him.
Spot of water on the camera lens, so things may yet change. Coronel leads momentarily. Menu in second from Tarquini, from Ivan Muller in the queue with Rob Huff trying to get by Thiago Monteiro for 7th. Coronel, that damage shouldn't affect him. He's just pulled the front of the bumper around away from the wing, but Villa's in real trouble. That rear tyre is rubbing appallingly. That's certainly not going to last 12 laps. If he's lucky, it'll get him back to the pits. There is more water on the windscreen of Thiago Monteiro's car. As Huff tries to go through the race, the safety car is being scrambled. The race may be stopped.
The
now
rain's coming down really heavily now. Looking at
it is pelting down outside. Really big, fat, heavy drops. Slippery surface flag. Everybody will be aware, but they're racing drivers. They're trying to race. Huff goes around the outside of Villa, makes it safely through. Oh, and contact there. Off goes the Volvo, comes back on. And that was trying to get around Villa's car as well. He's between the two Seats there. Oriola behind him, and in front of him I think was Monteiro. And if they make it to the line, will they be greeted by the safety car? Will they be greeted by red flags? This is where the race director has to try and make a decision as to how bad it is going to get into the braking areas for the first corner. Everybody's got the wipers on. And can Coronel get it stopped? Can Menu get it stopped? Can Tarquini get it stopped? Yes, they do. 1, 2 and 3. And Monteiro with Oriola behind into the pit road has come car number 25. Mehdi Banani, our pole man, is in the pits for repairs. Wet track, lights on, says the message on the screen. I don't think anybody's got time to find the light switch. Tarquini defending again hard, but he's gone by into the lead of the race. No, he's second, isn't he? Because Menu's gone back. Oh, and a big accident behind. Oriola's come back on through. Actually, it looks like just a polystyrene marker board, so I thought he'd hit the outside of the circuit. And here comes Dahlgren. Is this the chance for the Volvo to come into its own? Dahlgren pushing hard, right behind Thiago Monteiro. And Dahlgren looking again. Wet weather tyres are coming out for Mehdi Banani's car. And look at it now, it is properly full wet. The slicks now are going to just be like skates on ice. This will be like driving on ice in your road car.
This is a driver's nightmare because you don't know how wet it is. You can see the rain coming down, bouncing off the windscreen, but you don't know how hard to push.
No. And they've just seen the pictures of Norbert Michaelis' damaged car. That car will not race any further. It is absolutely stuffed at the front. And off goes Freddie Bart. Off has gone Monteiro. Off has gone Dahlgren. And our race director now is in a position where drivers are not in safe conditions and they are on entirely the wrong tyres, and we may see a red flag. Red flag has been announced. The race has been halted, so we will wait for the cars to come back to the grid, and that is the only decision I think he could have made. Now, it does mean that were there any chance at all to get Norbert Michaelis' car back out on track, the team have got the bonnet up and they are throwing themselves at it. The race has stopped, and now the teams must be on the radio to the drivers going, red flag, this is a replay of Bart going off, I think, or unless he's gone off again, and that's Dudicalo as well. And that was Taniguchi, and that is the reason as Gabriele Tarquini comes to stop on the grid after 3 laps have been completed. We can hear the thunder now, and the rain is sheeting down. We've gone from being in sauna conditions to being, well, in the middle of a cold, wet shower, or a fairly warm, wet shower, actually. Well, what drama. Got to come back here again if they write scripts like this. Fantastic. Well, the race now suspended for a minimum of 15 minutes. What they've got to do is allow the teams a chance to change their tyres. And so, of course, look at that water pouring off the balcony here in front of us. Those who got into the covered grandstands, were sheltering from the sun early on, and now are sheltered from the rain.
I can see that with some tyres going out, some wets which weren't in tyre warmers. I wonder if that's somebody who's been caught off guard thinking it's so hot, there's no chance they're going to need them. Be a bit of a schoolboy if that is the case.
Well, I would imagine they've got time, even if they weren't ready in the tyre warmers, to bring the tyres out to the grid. So even if they're not there yet, they have time to do it. Doesn't mean essentially all you're going to do is take one set off, put one set on. You can't do an awful lot else. We're not in a Lewis Hamilton I need the wing repaired moment here, are we?
No, but they were out of the tyre warming bag, so it makes you wonder whether they've not been put in before the start of the first race.
Well, there's our Jimmy Jib operator on the inside of the penultimate corner. I mean, and you can see now he's got his waterproofs on. What on earth possessed him to take waterproofs out today? I mean, Harry, you know, it's all we can do to actually convince ourselves to wear shorts and a polo shirt here. It's been so hot, so he must be now feeling very, very pleased. He took it out with him, covering all bases.
I think he's the smuggest man on the track at the moment, I would imagine. He's probably pretty nice and warm in there.
Well, now then, as everybody shelters from a brief storm, and you can see actually how many people have brought an umbrella, so they're clearly aware. They probably understood the weather forecast they heard last night, whereas I certainly didn't. They're probably aware, Michaelis must be moving. No, there's something going on anyway.
A new front bumper's just come out.
As we look at the front at the start of the race, good start from Menu, but look at the wheel spin. As he gets into second or third, it just sort of lit up the tyres, and he almost stood still, respected to how the BMWs are pulling away. Lots of smoke there from, was that Freddie Bar? Oh yeah, Mikkel Nukia.
It's still an element. A lot of these guys haven't done very many starts with this new engine format, and with the way the boost comes in, it's so aggressive that it's really, really easy to spin the wheels up.
Just seeing something I've never seen before, a safety car backing up along the main straight as we watch the start again, and as we expected, but much more dramatically. Now let's watch Michaelis. He comes behind Via. No, he's just missed his braking, and he's locked up from long before he hits Via, gets into Via, tags Coronel on the way through, and clumps poor Christian Poulsen out of the lead of the race.
That looks pretty heavily damaged on the front end there, but it depends, as long as it hasn't punctured any radiators.
Well, that's the thing though, so we saw it in the pit lane, and the radiator was definitely banana shaped, like he'd run into a tree, but it wasn't hosing fluid out. Look at the big lock up there all the way down the inside. That it almost looked like there was a mark on the wheel, a mark on the road from the wheel rim.
I wouldn't be surprised whether Norbert's probably come down the outside there, and perhaps he's just been caught out by Villa braking slightly earlier than he thought, and that's just pushed him. He's just clipped the back of him and pushed him onto the grass.
Well, I wonder if maybe he had a left front tyre instantly deflate. Well, we can still hear the rain falling on the roof above us. Spectators outside our back window absolutely soaked to the skin, those who haven't brought umbrellas. Longest race delay that we had for rain was back in Istanbul in, what was that, first year of the championship, 2005, 2006, don't recall. 2-hour delay we had in one race as the circuit basically just filled up like a bath, and our then race director Eduardo Freitas and the mechanics, all the circuit workers worked like Trojans basically to unplug all the drains and get the water to drain away to get the second race done. Absolutely astonishing work. And you know, this is going to be a real quick flash storm. I don't think it's here for the duration. Already out our back window, Harry, it's looking considerably lighter. It might blow through for 10, 15 or 20 minutes, but I don't think it'll be here for the rest of the day. If it is, of course, they've got wet weather tyres, they've got wipers, they've raced in the rain before, so yeah, it's just a change of weather conditions.
That's right, it's just another set of circumstances, all the drivers. Well, that said, actually, a lot of them, again, haven't driven this new format in the wet, so the BMWs have been pretty hard on their rear tyres, so if it does start to dry out, which is very possible with the track temperature as it has been, it'll be interesting to see if they can actually make the tyres last. And not to mention the fact that all that boost coming in from the back end will probably make those BMWs with a dry setup pretty hard to drive.
What we've also seen in the rain before is that the turbo diesel Seat tends to come into its own as it gets the most heat into its tyre and seems to work best. Still working very hard to get Norbert Michelis back into this race. And catch up with Norbert Michelis in a moment. Well, race still suspended here as the rainstorm continues. Norbert Michelis, his car in the pits, being worked on hard by the crew. Let's catch up with the latest.
Norbert, the team are working fantastically. Tell us what happened first of all.
Yeah, I made a good start. I just went up on the inside because I just thought that there is the most safely. But then Mehdi just went onto the brakes 3 meters before the braking point, and I just wanted to avoid him, but obviously I hit him, and I went onto the grass and then just hit Christian.
I've just been told your accident is under investigation.
Yeah, sure, because obviously you have to be prepared for somebody braking in front of you, but honestly I was not expecting everyone to braking so early, so I'm really sorry for Christian and Mehdi too, because obviously they were not expecting things like that, but obviously I don't think it was completely my fault.
And this rain, whether it was expected or not, could be working in your favour.
Yeah, I'm a little bit angry because for me in the second race P5, P4 would have been okay because I made the podium finish. So I did not want to take too much risk, but obviously these kind of things usually never happened to me before, and I'm just really sorry for everyone because obviously for the second race we have no chance.
Thanks.
We saw a crew member there with a brand new radiator, and well, what he's saying is that essentially everybody checked up in front, caught him by surprise. He was still hard on the loud pedal when they were all getting off it and onto the brakes, and in that split second suddenly you gain 2 or 3 car lengths, and that's the only gap that's there. It's like when somebody in front of you on the motorway stops hard, then suddenly you're half a second behind him or a quarter of a second behind him in reaction time, and that's enough to wipe out the gap.
That's it. If you look at how close they are as well going in that first corner, if someone did that on the motorway, you'd have absolutely no chance, and he almost avoided it. He just tried to go to the right, and that's pretty much how he ended up on the grass. So he obviously you can see he feels a little bit embarrassed, but I don't think he really should be. These things do happen.
I agree entirely. A racing incident. Car 5, which is Norbert Michelis, being investigated from the start. Also cars number 21 and number 4. Now number 4 is Alexei Dudicalo. He is in 17th place. Car number 21, Fabio Fabiani. Now Fabiani started on the back row of the grid and came through in 5th place after the rain. So he may not have heard that there was a red flag and passed an awful lot of people. He may have gone off somewhere and come on an awfully long way further back and made up several corners, but I'm not quite sure how Fabiani managed to do that. But in 5th place as they got to the line, either that or he just somehow managed to handle the rain. So
it could be perhaps, I don't know, maybe it is a sign that because his is the normally aspirated BMW, the only one on the grid, so maybe that all the turbo cars, this will be the first bit of wet running they've done. Perhaps all the drivers are struggling and maybe spinning off and just struggling to get round to the start again.
Well, it's still raining, but it's not coming down in stair rods as it was before, but it is consistently raining. If they can do anything to get that car back out, then they really will do for Norbert Michelis. As you heard him say, very disappointed. Anywhere in the top 6 he'd have been thrilled with. I genuinely think he had a car that could have been on the podium again, but these things do happen. You can see that even the exhaust at the back had been shunted from behind as he got collected by somebody else as well and going off. He's in the pit lane. Mehdi Banani was in the pit lane as well. So those guys, when we restart, will be right at the tail of the field. Unfortunately, we have already had a couple of laps, so this is the end of lap 3. Whether they'll count it back one and give us 10 more racing laps or only 9, we'll have to wait and see. Not quite sure on how that one works.
It seems to be lightening up quite a lot outside as well. And if it does stop, like we said before, there's the majority of this race to go, and I'm pretty sure it'll dry up pretty quickly. There's a lot of water on the circuit, but I'm sure there'll be a dry line before the end of the race.
Yeah, absolutely, particularly with the wet weather tyres starting to move it offline, and the sort of coarse nature of the track as well should help with that a little bit as well, because there'll be lots of holes for the water to go into that don't affect so much of the grip that you get from the tarmac. Well, again, look at the start. Alain Menu gets away well from the outside, the front row, but the BMWs, well, Bernardi didn't start well. Coronel had to go around him. Mikulis initially outside of Menu, so he gets by into 4th place, and then, well, there's no dramas at the start, apart from Montero barely moves at all, does he? He's being left. Look at the BMWs, 3 wide at the start. Coronel with the inside line. Mikulis is outside Menu, and again, watch the orange and black car. That's where all the drama comes from. Goes around the Chevy that just seemed to sort of falter in 2nd or maybe 3rd gear. Poulsen there with the lead from Coronel, and Mikulis looks inside before he gets caught out under braking. And he wasn't being over-ambitious. He wasn't clearly lining up a shot down the inside. I think he was more than happy to tuck into 4th place there, having got by Menu, the car that he couldn't pass in race 1. He'd done enough, and then the guys in front of him checked up a little.
Yeah, you can see it's totally accidental, and it's a shame that it happened, but these things do happen.
Yeah, racing incident. Did seem as though he wasn't losing any fluid as well, and that might just be a saving grace to get him out there. From Menu's viewpoint, well, the brake lights in front are obscured, but he did leave a big gouge in the road there as he went down the inside, clipping first maybe Bernardi, the pole man, and then this is Christian Poulsen's car. Turns in, whammo, and that clang sounds like nothing much on your TV, but it sends a shiver right through your body when you get hit like that, Harry.
Yeah, but the rotation of the car as well, when you get hit on the end like that, it kind of twists everything in your body, and it's not a very comfortable thing to be in.
Well, that was Oriola going off on the grass, and that's what I thought was the huge explosion of bits of blue and white Seat having hit the end of the barrier as we picked it up initially, but just going through that polystyrene marker as they got to the rain the first time. And here in corner 4, everybody at this stage, even with big plippy ploppy rain falling, still a relatively decent amount of grip. It was only when it really started to hose down towards the end of the lap that cars were flying off everywhere. Well, there is Louise with her own personal umbrella man.
Gabriele Tarquini made up 6 places there. I think he started 7th, and obviously was leading by the end of it, so he must have had a really good start.
Started 7th, went backwards, and then came up through the rain as everybody else skated off, perhaps just being a little more judicious. And again, the low down torque of that diesel engine probably helping him. Well, there's our safety car driver, Bruno, out making a first exploratory lap. You can see the Maserati Grand Sport getting the tail out nicely. He's got to push on to find out how much or how little grip there is. It is on road tyres, although they have been worked quite hard this weekend. There is still tread on them, so he'll be able to gauge compared to where the dry grip is, how much grip there is remaining, and then he'll report back to race control to give them his opinion on the sense or otherwise of starting the race. Let's get down to the grid with Louise and catch up with Gabriele Tarquini.
Well, Gabriele, we've just been told the race is starting again in approximately 11 minutes. You got that lead. Tell us about that.
Yeah, the race condition is completely changed now, but better for me because I was 7 on the grid. Now I'm in the first position, so nobody knows the condition of the track. Nobody tests on the wet, so can be better for us, I think.
Do you think the turbo diesel will be better in the wet?
Yeah, on dry condition we was not very fast, so it's hard to resist the 12 lap against the Chevrolet and BMW because they had something more than us. So we will see.
Are you preparing yourself for another race defending?
I hope to be faster than in dry condition, but you never know. I mean, I make a really great start and a fantastic move on my second lap. He was overtook 2 cars on the outside on the second corner on second lap. So it was a great move, and I'm very proud of it.
Thank you.
Oh, he is becoming the benchmark for getting touring cars off the line. He starts astonishingly well in almost any conditions. And the turbo diesel is a well-proven car in the rain. In the past, in wet weather conditions, we've seen it have a greater advantage over the rear-wheel drive BMWs, whose tyre temperatures tend to drop off because they don't work the tyres so hard. Work's still going on to try and get Norbert Michaelis out on track. And do you know what? The crowd might go home wet, but I think they'll go happy if he gets back out there. And again, look at the surface. Not lots of standing water lying around in a lot of places. Now, steaming away quite heavily as well, so you can see how hot the track tarmac was before. And of course, that's not just a surface temperature. That's temperature coming all the way from the depth of the tarmac. So that will largely remain. It should help the track to dry out pretty quickly. And race looking to be resumed. We're just seeing the 10-minute ball being taken out onto the grid at 2:05 local, which is just under 10 minutes from now. So the 10-minute ball will be given at 1:55. It is now 1:55 and 40 seconds. So we are in the 10-minute countdown to get...
Looking out the back window, people are starting to walk around again, and already you can see the water is starting to run to the lower points and looking a bit drier on the higher points.
Yeah, a lot of umbrellas being put away. I think it is still just drizzling very slightly. But again, it is so warm here, actually, being outside in the rain might not have been a bad thing at all. Gabriele Tarquini will restart the race as our leader ahead of Tom Coronel and the rest, and it will be in single file behind the safety car. And let's get down to the grid and hear from Tom Coronel.
Tom Coronel, you had a fantastic start there, but how are you feeling now with Tarquini with the benefit of the turbo diesel ahead of you?
I was watching a little bit too much in the mirror with Manu, so Tarquini passed me on the outside, but it was a red flag, so they calculate one lap back, so that's why we can start here. I mean, nobody drove in the wet on this circuit because it has been dry all the time. I just see it as a big mess starting, because it will be a guess where to brake and how to take the corners. But the start was all right. I saw Michelis coming from the inside. I thought, oh, he's a little bit too enthusiastic, so I opened, and then he crashed into Paulsen. So I had a little bit of luck there to avoid the accident. But this race is going to be very interesting. I just asked my team to get the slicks ready, because you destroyed the rain tire because there are many corners and it's very hot. I think we should take a gamble.
Yeah, with your history, I'm surprised you haven't got slicks on.
Yeah. Maybe you're right. But the Coronel combination is not on the rear-wheel drive car. At that time I was driving front-wheel drive cars. This is a rear-wheel drive car, so it's a different situation. But wait and see, wait and see.
Thank you.
Well, the longer it goes on before we get restarted, the drier the track is getting, and the longer the shorter the life of the wet weather tyre is going to be. I wonder if he's patented that, the Coronel combination. That's the slick on the front and the wet on the rear of a front-wheel drive car, where the rear tyres, if you don't have the wets on, will just go stone cold and will go off completely. And again, he used that, didn't he, to win famously in Japan. Held off a hard-charging Augusto Farfus right to the final corner. But well, there is a tyre trolley coming back out onto the grid now, and I think where's that going to? Mikel Nukia, a little further back. You watch the crowd again. Look, it's looking an awful lot brighter. The storm has passed. The rain hasn't entirely. Sunshine out the back door, and the rain has stopped out the back of the commentary box. So it may well actually even be dry on the grid now, or at least dry air on the grid. I think the storm has passed.
I think.
Ooh, okay, H, come on. Are you going to gamble or not? Coronel's got a tyre trolley beside his car, as everybody else has. He's got slicks on. They're warm.
If you're Coronel, it could be more difficult to start in on the wet and the slicks on the BMW.
We'll wait and see. Here's Alan Menu.
Just been told we've got 30 seconds, so what can you do now?
I'm not sure, to be honest, because we haven't driven in the wet on that track, and some of them are driving like lunatics, so we'll see what happens after 2 laps or so, and then we'll see where we are.
Thank you.
Oh, okay. The vibe is we might be looking at full green flag pit stops, mightn't we?
Yeah, that
we might be looking at tyre gamble all over the place. And then we get to something that we saw in Spa last year in the GP3 support race on both days, a driver who stays out on the wrong tyre, track position, and manages to somehow hold on, either on a slick in the rain, which was happened on Saturday, or on a wet weather tyre as it dried out and everybody stopped, dropped right back, caught him like Billy-O, but he just managed to hang on. That was Adrian Tombe, who we saw in AutoGP. So track position is everything. If you're Tarquini, you're going to lead away in wet conditions where you know what your car does. The BMW drivers don't. The Chevrolet drivers, to a degree, might, but not here. Tarquini knows what his car does in the wet.
Yeah.
It's not a time for him to gamble. Has Coronel gambled? No, he has not changed tyres.
I think we'll probably see a few people maybe further down the order who've got less to lose, putting, especially in front-wheel drives, putting the Coronel combination onto their car, which is the slick on the front and the wet on the rear.
Among whom, I think, possibly, might be Darrell O'Young.
I think from where Darrell is back there, he might as well give
place.
it a go. I think if it was me, I'd certainly do
May as
that.
well gamble. Yeah, front row, don't gamble. 10th, 12th, gamble. The other thing, we are now hearing there will be 2 reconnaissance laps behind the safety car. Now, we're allowed to add 2 laps to the race distance to allow for safety car laps, so the race distance will go up to 14 laps. That's to allow the drivers to have some kind of a feel before you release them of where the grip might be, where the puddles are. I mean, and vitally for the drivers, where the puddles are. Now, if Norbert Michelis can leave in a moment or two. Okay, they're still on the pit lane with him as the marshals work to make sure that as much of the standing water goes down the drains as possible. Look at there's the engineer's friend, gaffer tape all over it. White plain bumper straight out of the BMW Motorsport wrapping. He's so close, he is so close. If he can get up to the end of the pit lane, I think he will be allowed to join the race at the back of the safety car queue, because effectively at that stage the race will be live, and so he will be, the pit lane pit exit light will be red when they go by, but as soon as they've gone by, I think should go to green, and I think you will hear the crowd go absolutely bananas if that car does move.
I think we could see some BMWs doing some pretty pirouettes here, actually, because it is a big thing. A lot of them have been talking about the drivability of the BMW and how it's already hurting the slick tyres when it's dry, and they've got no experience in these conditions. And if there's some further back, especially if they're gambling, there's a lot of curbs you need to run onto here as well to be quick. So the first couple of laps in anger, where you may run a little bit further and someone hasn't put a tyre on there yet, it's going to be lethal.
Engines are being started on the grid. Are they being started in the pit lane? Well, as you... Giancarlo, how excited were they when they got a win that they weren't expecting a couple of times once already this season, and now they may get another one. Tarquini winning in Zolder, much against a run of form. They were absolutely thrilled with that. They may have a chance to take another one against the head, and for them this year every win is like a major success. And there's the roar of the crowd. Norbert Michelis is moving in the pit road. Norbert Michelis moves down in his very badly damaged BMW to pit exit. He's not the only car there. Mehdi Benani is there too. Now, what are they doing with Michelis? Why is he not in line astern? And the other car in there is Fabio Fabiani.
And Benani as well, I think, at the front.
Yeah, Benani's at the front of the queue.
Then Fabiani, and then...
I think that was Fabiani, who... maybe he was fifth at the line because he came through the pit road.
That's a good point.
That may well be when the race was stopped. So 3 laps have been completed. We can add 2 further laps to the race distance. So I anticipate it would go up to 14 laps, which means that these 2 reconnaissance laps are precisely that. They will not count as racing laps. Well, they will, but we won't be 2 laps shorter. And the crowd celebrating the fact that a car that none of them would even touch on a second-hand lot has out on track, and that is an enormous victory for the Zengo team, for the half dozen guys or so that are in that operation. Single car team, based here in Hungary. That is a phenomenal piece of work. Well done indeed to them. Whatever else happens, whatever else happens, they have earned their beers tonight, and I'm sure that Norbert Michaelis will be buying.
Look at the track already. I'm certain this is going to end up with a very, very dry line, so it'd be pretty exciting. If anyone further down has got a combination on, if Darrell Young has put 6 on the front, I'm pretty sure they'll struggle for a few laps, but looking at the track already, you can see that the guys on the wets will clear the water really quickly. You can see where the tyre tracks are, where they've been before.
Well, you wonder then, what has Michaelis got on his car? Have they gone with the ultimate gamble and stuck him on slicks? The storm's gone. It's a while. We're in bright sunshine now. You can see in the background still very black clouds, but out the back it's as bright and sunny. Michaelis has gone with slicks, and why not? Let's have a look and see. Well, there is the circuit boss. There is the team boss. We heard the Member of Parliament here who presented the trophy to Norbert for Sport and Recreation and Tourism, being very enthusiastic and very excited by the whole thing. Lots of standing water, and that's the real drama for a slick. Then you become a water ski, you just go straight over the top of it, and you must allow for it. You've got to adapt your cornering line, Harry, so he's going to struggle early on, but it might come to him.
If there are still some puddles out there, so like you say, I think he's going to struggle to start with, but that could be the gamble, because if he's got 6 all round, which was what we're hearing, there's no reason why he couldn't potentially win this if he doesn't go off at the start.
So we're now up to lap 4 of 13. Next time round they'll be released over to lap 5 of 14. So neither of these 2 laps are being taken off the full race distance. And everybody looking around. We've seen the cameras pick out a couple of big puddles on the apexes and exits of corners, and those are what they have to be so careful to avoid, because they're so difficult, so dangerous. You know, a river running across the track. Standing water is going to be very, very treacherous indeed for the wet tyres, but especially so for anybody who, like Norbert Michaelis, has gambled on a full slick. I don't think anybody in the front 8 to 10 cars probably has. If you're halfway down the grid and below, okay, heads up. Let's just trust in our, luck, our experience, and the fact that definitely the conditions are not going to get any worse.
Yeah, it's only going to dry up now, and I'm pretty sure that was one of those freak thunderstorms that we were talking about before. And in the distance, you can still see the sky's really, really black.
Very, very wet around the back of the circuit, from sort of 7 rounds of 14, very wet indeed. First half of the lap looks pretty manageable. Second half of the lap looks pretty dodgy to me. On board there with Rob Huff in 5th. We are getting ready for the restart. Well, whatever else, the Zengo team are having a real adventure. This is a home race weekend they will never forget, for all the right reasons, for all the wrong reasons, and it's all the emotion that a small team racing in front of an enormous crowd. They know they're in the spotlight, and they are stepping up to respond.
They've had everything this weekend as well. He's been consistently running at the front. He's obviously had that great result in the first race, and then the downside in this race, but you never know, this could turn around to be quite a good result for him.
Lights are off on the safety car. Gabriele Tarquini now starts to slow the field down, because when he starts to accelerate through the final couple of corners, he cannot be having to lift off to avoid overtaking the safety car, which he would need to do. So he's got to give himself breathing room. Crowd are on their feet. Right in front of our window, every single man, woman and child is standing up and craning to see the final corner. Not to see Gabriele Tarquini, although they are, but it'll be the car that comes through last that will draw the cheers. Tarquini is going to make sure that nobody gets a turbo petrol run on his turbo diesel out of the final corner as we get ready to restart this race. We go green again in Hungary. Gabriele Tarquini taking an enormous jump at the lead, and Alemeniu and Ivan Muller, 3rd and 4th, are looking at Tom Coronel with envious eyes. Menu's going to look at making a move down the inside. Montero is defending against Robert Dahlgren, and the crowd go wild as Michaelis' battered car comes through, and Coronel holding off Menu as Tarquini drifts out really wide. But again, the further wide you go, perversely, the more grip there is, because there's less soil and rubber from other race cars. Tarquini still leads. It's still Coronel's BMW inside Menu. They've got to get slowed down. Behind loads of Seats in a bunch with a Volvo in the middle. Oriola, Montero on the outside is Nukia. Yeah, contact. Nuki was, beg your pardon, Dargon was inside Montero, and the two made contact, and Menu's gone through. Menu up to second, on board with Huff. He's behind Muller. Oh, Menu in the barriers! Massive clash into the barriers for Alain Menu. Coronel's back up to second, and Menu, I think, must have hit standing water down in the dip there. And Huff is having a look, and Muller is having a look. Muller there. Oh, and Coronel drifts out wide. Look at the grip the Chevy chassis has got. That shows how good the chassis is on that car. And he's got the place. Coronel can't turn in on him into 6. He is through into second place. Wow. Well, fantastic stuff. The crowd is shouting as they watch the Diamond Vision screen of the battle for the lead, and of Norbert Michaelis as well. Tarquini leads, but it is all going on behind. And again for Tarquini, got to escape, get away, let them fight and wear their tyres out.
Yeah, he's got Muller behind him now as well, so he's going to be well aware that he's becoming...
Dear, and Dahlgren makes contact with a second Seat, and this time it's the teenager Pepe Oriola. His left rear tyre is facing in entirely the wrong direction. He can't save it. It is spinning on its own, and this is Coronel under pressure from Huff. Muller's gone through. Huff now goes through.
You can see the back end of Coronel's BMW squirming there under the power. I think that's where they're going to struggle.
Well, the BMW has got 3 drivability settings for power delivery. The Chevrolet, as we were looking at yesterday, has almost a dozen for drivability, and also a dozen different fuel maps that you can adjust. So enormously more involved it is, you know, and the start control system and everything, enormously more involved, the electronics, in trying to control the extra power of the turbo motor. Tarquini leads, but oh dear, that's not a good sight in the mirrors. The king of sideways, Ivan Muller, is second. Rob Huff up to third. Coronel in fourth. Dahlgren in fifth, but the stewards will be spending a fair time talking to the Swede afterwards. Nukia and Montero 7th and 8th. Watch Menu, what happens? Wheel on the grass. Wheel on the grass on the left-hand side of the car. No one was near him. He drifted out wide. This is his onboard.
That's it, yeah. You could see he had a bit of oversteer just in the dip. Like you said before, maybe they just hit a bit of standing water and try to correct it, and it's just bitten.
Well, so much for the curse of the commentator. I suggested maybe he might have had, at the beginning of the race, a chance for a double race winning weekend. That, I'm afraid, has long since departed with that clash in the barriers. This is Tarquini, eating him up. As soon as they get through into green flag racing, into 5. And again, Muller can go from the outside, cut to the inside, while Tarquini's wrestling the car just to get it to go around the corner. Grip to give away in the Chevy.
This is ideal situations, I think, for Ivan Muller in the Chevrolet. I think it's the perfect scenario for him.
Well, now, up until now, he's had speed advantage over Tarquini. Now he's got none. Coronel passed by Dahlgren. The Swede goes up to 4th. Could the Volvo end up on the podium? Incidentally, in all of this, are the tyres going to last the remaining 8 or 9 laps? On the front straight in front of us, there is dry tarmac. Yeah. That's how hot the track is. It's like water in a frying pan. It's steaming off.
With less than halfway through the race, and there is a bone dry line down the start-finish straight, so I'm pretty sure that's going to certainly play into anybody's hands who has 6 on.
It'll be that old thing where we see in all single-seater racing, they'll be hunting out the wet patches within a lap or 2. Here now comes Muller, dives inside Tarquini, goes out wide, still cuts back in onto the line.
Yeah, that was a good move. It was nicely done. He made it stick there. I think he maybe went up there on the slippy bit and then got into the grippier outside of the circuit, managed to cut back from out there.
Now he's on the racing line here, it's slippery, it drifts out wide, and as soon as he goes out wide there's more grip for the tyres. He can use his Chevrolet chassis as he takes the lead, and that is all she wrote, I think, unless tyre wear really becomes a factor here.
They're already hunting for the wet patches. You can see them hugging the pit wall, which is the wrong side of the track to be on.
Yeah, amazing, isn't it, how quickly the weather has changed and how quickly the track looks like it's changing back. Still lots of spray, but of course that means that the tyres are picking the water up off the road and spreading it around into the air, where it will evaporate instead of just falling again. So that every bit of spray makes the track drier. Fabio Fabiani is off. Norbert Michaelis comes across the line. He is currently in 16th place because now Menu has gone. Oriola's off. Poulsen is out. So he is up to 16th, and Fabiani's in the gravel trap, so Michaelis will pick up a place from him. And this is why Fabiani going in deep. I'm afraid that was a bit of a Billy moment where the tyres just locked up and he didn't have the confidence to get off the brake pedal and release the tyres to do the duty which he was trying to ask of them, which was get round the corner.
Yeah, very clumsy that, I think. But if you look at the independent class, Michel Niger in the turbo petrol Seat is now leading.
And there he is. There's Nukia. He's in 6th position, top Yokohama Trophy driver. Darrell Young, don't know if he did go with full slicks, but he's up to 8th place from 12th. And only Alain Menu has vanished in front of him. Muller leads from Tarquini, Huff, Dahlgren and Coronel, and this is the battle right behind. Nukia, who we're watching, knocking on the back door of Coronel's BMW, and whether he's running out of grip or the car is just spinning up its rear tyres, which I think is slightly what you suspect, Harry. The BMW does not have the grip. And don't forget now, Nukia, not Montero, who we ride with, Nukia has got a petrol turbo engine in his Seat, so very different to anything he's raced in the rain before, whereas Montero with a diesel, lots of low down torque, not so much snatch under acceleration. He'll know how it handles a little bit better. It's going to be interesting to see how the tyre life between those two cars right there balances out, because they've got completely different engines in the same chassis.
Yeah, that's a good point actually. It will be very interesting to see how that works out by the end of the race, especially if it's drying like it is.
Well, right now Montero's got grip, hasn't he, that Nukia can't find. As Nukia picks up the throttle, it's an understeer switch. The more gas, the further and wide he goes through the corner.
Interestingly, actually, it looked like Niger pulled away slightly there coming off the corner.
Well, Muller, Tarquini, Huff and Dahlgren, the top 4. There is the Volvo. Coronel 5th with the lights ablaze on the red, white and blue BMW. And then Mikel Nukia. Almost nobody with their wipers still on. And now half the width of the main straight is bone dry. And that's a massive shunt. Oh, Oriola, they've dropped him. He'd gone off anyway a couple of laps ago. Cars 15 and 30 are now under investigation. They've picked him up off the barriers. Oh, no, they haven't. They're towing him backwards. Well, this is the collision, and it breaks the left rear corner, and the car then spinning furiously to the driver's right, out of its control, and he just stopped it there because he knew it was going to be a nightmare. And there is Robert Dahlgren in 4th position, but under investigation by the stewards. Robert Dahlgren in 4th, the BMW there of Tom Coronel in 5th position, under pressure from Mikel Nukia and Thiago Montero, who almost looked like he was getting by Nukia last lap for 6th position. Coronel in the BMW and the pale blue Volvo of Dahlgren will both be investigated by the stewards for incidents. In Dahlgren's case, I'm sure they're looking at the one with Oriola.
Yeah, I think Dahlgren might get a bit of a penalty for one of those incidents. He seemed to be getting into most of the Seats at the start of that.
Nukia almost had a run going on Coronel. There was a little bit of a bump there as Tom just got the door closed, but Nukia definitely was having a run on him out of corner 8-9. And again, he is quicker than the BMW. It looks through the corners, and actually it seems picking up off the corners as well. He's got a slight drivability advantage. Drive-through penalty for cars 4 and 21. That's Dudicalo, and 21, Fabio Fabiani.
That looked like Montero almost lost it there. I don't know if he was taking a bit of a dramatic line to get into the water, but from our angle it certainly looked like he was having a bit of a moment.
Right, leaders on lap 8 of 14, which means 6 of this still to go. Muller, Tarquini, Huff. For how long? How long is Rob Huff going to be able to sit behind Tarquini before he feels that he has to make a move? And how long are the tyres on these cars going to survive? And can anybody now, with only half a dozen laps left, give up track position for a pit stop? Anybody who's on slicks now, half the circuit is their friend, half the circuit wants to throw them off. And again, Coronel with a wild sideways moment. Fabiani has planted the car in the gravel there, so yellow flags which aren't being shown, so clearly they've withdrawn them. But again, you can see dry bits and lakes.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it's not easy out there.
You've got all the extremes there, and I think that's what's catching people out. And you're dropping a wheel over a curb, and it could still have a lot of standing water on the back of it that you can't see.
Well, Norman Michaelis in 15th place has just come by in front of Dudicalo, and there's Bart wheel to wheel with Bernani.
That's got tears written all over it, I think, there.
Well, across the line, Bart was 11th and Bernani was 14th, with Taniguchi and Dudicalo between them, and there is now nothing between them, and Bart goes up the inside. So he takes the place for the moment from Mehdi Benani. I wonder if Benani started in the pit lane on slick tyres as well. That might be very interesting. Let's have a look at his lap time. 2 minutes 15.5 to 221.8 of Michaelis. Leader doing 2 minutes 12s. So if Michaelis is on slicks, he is 8-9 seconds a lap slower at the moment than the leaders. He's not making the progress he would have hoped for.
No, I think he's going to run out of laps as well.
Yeah, if there was another five, and how many times do we say this in World Touring Cars? If there was another 5 laps, it would have been a very different race for the BMWs, and that is often the case. Wind is still blowing, actually. It's still a decent breeze, so that's helping the track dry as well. I can't believe how quickly the front straight is drying. It is like it's got undersoil heating. Even that couldn't dry it this quickly. Coming onto the straight here, look, wet, wet, wet. Oh, we wanted the on-board shot there. Down the straight, look at the pale grey all the way down the front straight. There's barely even a trace that it rained. Remember 20 minutes ago, everybody was diving for cover as it was a monsoon.
It's amazing. I suppose it was 50 degrees or so, the track temperature. It's obviously just made it evaporate straight away. That looks Huff coming up.
Yeah, Huff having a look inside. Tarquini tries hard to squeeze the gap down. Of course, these two made contact in Zolder when they were dicing for the lead. Rob Huff will want to avoid any such problems that cost him a barrel load of points, but again, he's got grip to spare. Part of it in the corners, but part of it seems he can get the car stopped slightly better than Tarquini can as well. Alexei Dudicalo has yet to come in and serve his drive-through penalty. That will elevate Norbert Michaelis a little further up. Again, look, bone dry line here, so the slick's working well. You can, you go through a little patch of water there, but you've got a good run up to corner 4. Time is against Norbert Michaelis, and do you know what, actually the car may not be very healthy either, having had such a whack, so it may not be going as quickly as it could. But last lap was a 2:21 for him. He's done a 2:18 as Huff again attacks Tarquini. He's now gone from 9 seconds slower than the leader to 5 seconds slower than the leader in 1 lap.
I wonder whether the BMW might actually come into its own a little bit. I know they are struggling with tyre wear on the rear end, but if they're taking it really easily here, it may sort of inadvertently preserve the rear tyres while the front wheel drives don't have an option.
Well, that might be the battle that proves that, as we see Montero has sneaked in front of Nukia. That was on the run out of corner 5 up to 6. He's moved up into 6th position, but Coronel was only 0.3 of a second in front at the line. That's more like 6, 7, 8 of a second. Maybe this lap by Coronel will be the tipping point for the BMW, and Huff starting to push now. Muller's gone, so Huff's not going to catch him, but Rob wants second place. He's got the grip to try and take it. Gabrielli almost keeps the door closed. No, he's drifting out wide. Can Rob cut back? Will he go to the right-hand side?
It depends on how dry it is around the outside here, but it would potentially be on the cards that you could get a run around the outside, instead of up the inside.
Gabrielli goes onto the dry, and the tyre just rolls off the bead, doesn't it? And then it's actually like a slick on the wet when you get onto the dry. The rubber just squirms underneath the tyre, and Rob Huff makes it a Chevrolet 1-2. He hunts for water. Good luck down there. There's none to be found. And that gives Tarquini a run down the straight. But Huff had the grip. I don't see that situation changing an awful lot in the remaining laps of this race. Well, they're on lap 11, and here again, look, Nukia is trying to take the place back from Montero, who's on the inside. Nukia cuts back. Great racing between two very different cars. They look ostensibly the same car from the outside. The one we're on's got a turbo diesel, the one in front a turbo petrol.
Turbo petrol actually pulled away there again. It shows that that car does have a lot of power when it's working and not breaking down.
It's got the power. That much they were absolutely sure about after the testing. It's a quicker car with that engine in, but it's got to last. It's got to be reliable. They've got to get it optimised and set up. Norbert Michaelis again brings the crowd to their feet. Last lap, a 2:14.9 on slicks to the 2:12.1 of leader Muller on wet weather tyres. The slick almost there now. Muller and Huff, first and second for Chevrolet as we look at the battle. 7th position is Thiago Montero again behind Mikel Nukia, so that has changed again since the line. Nukia just about got his nose in front. And there's Robert Dahlgren, wet weather tyres on the Volvo in 4th place. Tom Coronel in the BMW, also on wets, in 5th position. I don't think, starting on the front row or restarting in 2nd place, I don't think he gambled on wets on the grid. That seems a little unlikely, but he may find... Oh, look, Dahlgren, mirror, mirror, mirror. 3 times there on that little short shoot while we were watching him, and that's only half of the straight, checking to see where the BMW is. He knows he's coming.
Yeah, the BMWs have definitely come into their own now. If you can, in the independent class, Villa has passed Young, and he's also now catching Niger by 2 seconds on the last, 2.5 seconds on the last lap.
Oh, not a good time to be a hare. Managed to make it across the track safely in front of Tom Coronel, I think. Here are the lead pair, Muller and Huff. Tarquini, yeah, there's unless you go down pit road, I don't think there's any water to be found on that main level pass of the pit straight. So actually, you're really not doing yourself any favours hunting for it as it is. May as well just allow the tyre. And it's not in the straight that the tyre is overheating as much as in the corner, the wet weather tyre.
Yeah, it's where you need to be on the dry patches, and that's what hurts it. But if you can get some damp, that's obviously what you're going to go for.
Drive-through penalty has been announced for Robert Dahlgren. He had contact with 2 cars early on in the race, and I think perhaps the second with Pepe Oriola was the straw that broke the camel's back, and the Polestar driver will have to come in through a drive-through penalty. The team looking a little bit disappointed, as you might expect. Robert Dahlgren currently in 4th, being caught fast by Tom Coronel, full second quicker on the last lap, Coronel, than Dahlgren. So he is reeling him in, and Coronel in 5th place at the moment, but that will become 4th. 3 laps to go, so Dahlgren will have to serve his drive-through before the end of the race. Even were he not to, he would get a 30-second penalty, which would drop him way down the order anyway.
Villa's making big progress as well up the field, but I don't think there's going to be enough laps left for him to get on the back of Montero and Niger.
Well, that's true. He's 6 seconds behind them. And, well, he actually, Nukia, 2:09 last time, so the 2:10 of Villa is actually lapping quicker. It's Thiago Montero, 2:11.6 to the leaders, who are now doing 2:09s, so 3 seconds a lap quicker still there going than they were 2 or 3 laps ago, the Chevrolets, and that shows how much Rob Huff is giving Ivan Muller the hurry up. It also tells you legions about how good they are to their tyres, that they are going quicker and quicker the drier the track gets on wets.
Yeah, that's very interesting, but I would imagine that's probably because there's a lot of personal best gone in on that last lap. I think it may just be that as the track dries, there is generally more grip.
Coronel right up behind Dahlgren. Dahlgren was right to be watching the mirrors. The BMW has come and gone, and Dahlgren comes into the pit lane to serve his drive-through penalty. So unfortunately, what could have been a great race, unfortunately, has now come unstitched for him. But again, that car's shown so much potential, and maybe with the turbo petrol engine in Brno, another couple of weeks of just getting it running, putting a little bit more reliability and setup into it, that could be a very, very potent force in the Czech Republic. And it's been a bit of a highlight so far for them this weekend.
Engsler's just jumped up from behind Daryl Young and Villa, and he's now second.
There he is. He's gone by both of them, and again you question what tyres Franz Engsler might have started on, because he was well down in the dozens in below. He might have had a bit of a gamble on some slick tyres.
That could be right. He's the fastest person on the track on that last lap.
Yeah, on what might be... Oh, Nook is off. Nook is off from 5th, and through goes Montero, and Nook is staying off because on the wet grass, again, now that is properly full wet conditions there, because it's, as you could see, very soggy and very muddy underneath.
He looks like he's almost got a problem. It looks kind of like he's staying off the line there when he came back on.
Yeah, well, maybe because Thiago was coming back right front puncture. Predictably, of course, it's a right front puncture. Nukia is the king of somehow getting stuck with punctures. There's his dad, the team, not looking very happy with that. The car delaminating enormously, or the tyre delaminating enormously. And again, you know, overheating is a problem for tyres in these conditions. Fastest race lap, 2:07.7 for Norbert Michaelis. He is absolutely flying now. 2:09 for race. Still 2:09 for Huff. Commentators just announced that Michaelis has set the fastest race lap to the crowd. They respond, they're on their feet cheering and hollering. It's like a NASCAR crowd here, it's great. But 2:09s for Huff and Muller, the race leaders, 2:09.0s. They're going really well still on what must be fairly tortured wet weather tyres. And again, that tells you how good the Chevy chassis is.
I think so. It's compared to well, look at if you look at Coronel as well, he's on a 2:08.5. The BM certainly seem to be coming back, and Engsler on a 2:08.3. The BM certainly seem to be coming back into their own, but look, Muller's just done a 2:07.8, so you're right. Perhaps it is the fact that the track's just drying more and more every set of wheels that go over it. It's drying more and more. But
now, Yeah, and in fact, Coronel's just set the fastest race lap as well. I was going to say, last lap, Muller and Huff, I think we have to say, first and second probably sealed. Tarquini, 3.9 seconds ahead of Coronel as they started the last lap. We need to watch that one. Engsler soaring up the order. He is now up to 6th position, 2:07.1, the fastest race lap. And look in front of him, Thiago Montero, that is 5th position. That is going to be no, never mind the target. I think he might have done him halfway around the lap. Javi Villa behind, I think, has had the best of his tyres. And Mikkel Nukia comes across the line. I beg your pardon, Norbert Michelis comes across the line, 2:05.3, 2 seconds quicker on that lap than he was on the previous.
Yeah, you can see his right rear wheel. Look at the angle of it. It's obviously that car's carrying a lot of damage.
It's a horror. It's a shed. You can see bits hanging off it, left, right and centre, underneath, at the back. Nukia's made it round to the pits with his shredded tyre and 3 wheels and a rim. But Ivan Muller handling the wet weather conditions commendably, as you would expect from a 10-time ice racing champion. Doesn't mind if things are a little slippery underfoot. And the Chevy Cruze again underlining, I think, just what a fine engineering job it is. There's his daughter and girlfriend.
You can see the cars actually moving around on the blocks on the tyre. They're wet. There's going to be a lot of knackered wets out there at the end of this.
You can see it wriggling, can't you, as he brakes there. The nose just moving left and right. And again here, watch closely the front of the cars. Not quite so exaggerated there, not quite such a heavy braking. But last couple of corners, Ivan Muller is going to win his 15th FIA World Touring Car race here. And for Muller, that will be the first of the season. Rob Huff, Alan Menu and Gabriele Tarquini have won so far, and now Muller adds himself to that list, so he wins race 2 from Rob Huff. So Rob Huff, 2 12th position starts. Where did he finish in race 1? 4th place?
Yeah.
Race finished 2nd here. Oh, and Engsler lunged there at Montero, and he's coming back at him. And as they race to the line, he might just have enough grip for the overlap. Montero's turbo engine.
Ooh, yeah, I think Montero had it.
Just has it by a 75 thousandths of a second margin. Wow.
I think Rob Huff will be delighted with this weekend, the way it's gone after qualifying. It's real damage limitation.
Absolutely right, absolutely right. Dug deep when he needed to and didn't allow all the stress to get to him. And Norbert Michelis is inside. Across the line he comes, and he finishes in 15th position. Although, actually, Mikkel Nukia and Alexei Dudicalo are still on the screen in front of him, and we know that Nukia is in the pit lane, so maybe Michelis lost a lap. Yes, I think he might have done, along with Mehdi Benani. So I think actually they were a lap behind as well as all that time. But Michelis, fastest race lap, 2 minutes 4.0. He definitely did have slick tyres on, didn't he? And why not? Unfortunately, if the car had been straighter, then he might have had an awful lot more chance to improve. Well, Ivan Muller and Rob Huff, 1-2 for Chevrolet. And Gabriele Tarquini clinging on, 3rd place. What a good result for the Seat driver. Coronel in 4th, Thiago Montero in 5th, and top Yokohama trophy driver Franz Engsler in 6th position, ahead of rivals Javi Villa and Daryl Young, 8th place on the grid. So not sure whether he gambled on slick tyres as well in his car. Actually, possibly it looked like he might not have done. Well, yeah. Norbert Michelis, what a roller coaster. 2nd place in race 1, down after qualifying, in the highest heights of finishing on the podium after race 1, and again up and down and all over the place in race 2. But a fantastic weekend for him, all things considered. And for Rob Huff, he still has the championship lead.